of Education meeting to order December 18th, 2024 at 6:05. We can stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 2, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? So moved.
Second.
Second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Chairman update, I will, I can update under professional development, so we'll go past that. For presentations, first we have a presentation from the Cognitive students. The representatives. And here's me.
Looking sharp.
Yeah, right?
Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Oakley. I am a junior at Cognitive, and I am in the band program. And I will be recapping the music program for this semester. Going all the way back to September, the first performance was at the Durham Fair, where we played for 2 days. It was a success with the jazz band and show choir. A little bit later, we had the Veterans Day concert with both the band and chorus. And in addition, we had Caleb General and I played taps at multiple military events. Right, throughout the seasons, we played, the pep band played at football games and pep rallies under the lights and in and out of the school day for the pep rallies. Several students participated in the Shoreline Music Festival during October. And then later in November, students auditioned also for the Southern Regional Music Festival. Recently, the music program had musical auditions. The play is being put on the first weekend of April, if you'd like to go see that. There was another successful tree lighting playing in both Durham and Middlefield this year by the band. And later tonight at 7:30, there will be a winter concert featuring both the band and chorus. Thank you all for your time.
Hi, I am Sophie Farr, a senior at Cognitive and captain of the girls soccer team. Tonight I'll be recapping on the fall sports season along with some student life. I'm first going to start off with football, as they had an exciting season due to it being the opening year with lights that allowed for many Friday night lights games. The team had an overall record of 5-5-0, which did not end up allowing them to make the state tournament, but they ended on a success. They won the Battle of Route 17 against the North Brender Thunderbirds in a close game of 28-19. 5 boys on the team earned an All-Shoreline award, 4 receiving first team and 1 receiving honorable mention. 1 player, Aiden Oswald, will be continuing his football career at Merrimack College. The next sport, boys soccer, had a successful season as they made it to the state tournament for the first time in 5 years. Boys soccer was seeded 21 in the Class S CIC tournament and had it run to the quarterfinals, upsetting HK in the second round 3-2, before losing to Morgan in the quarterfinals. The boys soccer team finished 9-6-4 in Class S. 3 players earned second team All-Shoreline and 1 earned honorable mention All-Shoreline. Additionally, the coach, Matt Thompson, earned Shoreline Coach of the Year. In cross country, the girls and boys attended 9 meets during the fall. Overall, they had good performances with Jane Waterman, Ella Ullman, Charlie Dallas, and Andrew McDowell being some of the standout players. Jane Waterman and Ella Ullman both finished in the top, allowing them both to be second team All-Shoreline. Andrew McDowell placed in the top 25, which helped lead the boys to a 7th place finish at Shoreline Conference, where the girls placed 6th. At the Class S meet, the girls team finished 6th again, and the boys finished in 14th place. Next for volleyball, the volleyball team came back with all returning players and was able to qualify for both the Shoreline and state tournaments from the record of 10-12. The team was seeded number 17 in the Class S tournament, and in the first round they won in a competitive game and advanced to the second round of the tournament before losing to the top seed, Innovation, in the tournament in 5 sets. Kaylin Smalley earned honorable mention All-Conference, and Hayden Farnsworth received first team All-Conference in the Shoreline. Additionally, Hayden Farnsworth earned second team All-State. On our unified team, Silas Barrett and Marissa Inglis recently won the State Special Olympics Annual Unified Cornhole Tournament. They've completed many trips to other schools, participating in various different activities and sports. In the beginning of fall, they held a soccer tournament on our turf with Westbrook Valley and North Branford, where other fall teams helped out. The week of November 11th, they welcomed Russian delegation who played volleyball, basketball, and kickball during their classes. This year was a big year for our unified program as they earned the National Unified Champion School banner for the years 2023 to 2027. This award shows we demonstrate a commitment to the inclusion by meeting 10 national standards of excellence. Lastly, girls soccer had a very impressive season and made history winning the Class S CIAC championship against the Morgan Huskies, who they lost to twice before throughout the season. The finals went into PKs where freshman Anna Meisenko then had a big save, leading her to be named MVP of the game. Girls soccer finished 15-2-3, which led them to the semifinals in the Shoreline tournament in the number 5 seed in Class S. They had an exceptional season with the first-year coach Liam Islib. Allie Booth earned honorable mention, all-conference, and Sheila Vasquez earned second-team all-conference. And myself, I earned first-team all-Shoreline and first-team all-state. Overall, it was an outstanding season for all the fall sports teams. And then just a little bit about student life activities that happened over the past few months. On September 7th, in our second week back to school, we had the annual COG Carnival, which welcomes students and staff back to the school community after summer break. This included activities, food, and games for all of our students to do. On October 14th, DECA, a business leadership club here, held the annual golf tournament in Indian Springs, and they brought in the most profit over the past few years. On October 23rd, we held the PSATs for students in grades 9, 10, and 11 in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we had our COG convention, which allows our eighth graders to come up and see every academic department, athletics team, and club, which are represented by our students. And this shows what it truly means to be a Blue Devil. On November 9th, we had our homecoming dance that was ran by the Junior Class Council, and we had the highest number of guests since before the pandemic. And on November 11th, we had our Veterans Day Assembly, which was organized by Senior Hannah Nelson and the DECA Club. This included music by members of the Army Band, the CRHS Music Department, and a reading of our student essay winner piece, and a veteran keynote speaker. After the program concluded, our Blue Devil Cafe catered a bunch for veterans and their families. Several guests from the Russian delegate visited Unified Sports class November 13th and hosted a roundtable discussion with CRHS staff and students about how we structure our inclusive programs. Our annual boys powder puff volleyball game was on November 18th, where the seniors won in a close 3 sets coached by Brooke Quincy and Sophie Coulis. The week of November 19th, seniors took their trip to Washington, D.C. and saw many different historical things. On November 26th, the pep rally celebrated our fall 2024 Blue Devil Award recipients and highlighted the fall sports teams before the annual girls flag football powder puff game. We played a few fun games during the pep rally and then went on to the game. The seniors won for their second year in a row, coached by Aiden Oswald and Bradford Dragon. The game was set up by the senior class and junior class council. The final week before winter break, CRHS advisory classes participated in a winter door decorating contest, and our new unified music class visited classrooms to sing carols for our school community. Thank you for listening.
That was impressive. The both of them were impressive, but be able to get through all that. So it seems like you guys have had an amazing start, and we're really proud all around. Bob always has a question there.
Do you have any questions?
We have a lot to go on tonight. I can ask Sophie anytime.
We'll have them back.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Moving on, we have some amazing presenters from Memorial School.
We're just getting lined up. We have quite a trail here. Thank you all for coming this evening to the board, and thank you very much to the board for having Memorial School at the December board meeting. I am very proud to introduce 10 of our 5th graders who are here to share about their experiences as 5th graders at Memorial School. We also want to quickly thank the families that came and brought their students to us this evening on this chilly night, as well as the teachers that helped them prepare, and especially Mrs. B. and Carty, who is our Student Senate our Student Senate chairperson, I guess, liaison. So thank you so much for coordinating all this as well. And I'll turn it over to our student.
Hi, I'm Juliana. We are here as a 5th grade group to talk to you about a day in 5th grade. Elijah and I will start with social emotional learning, also known as SEL. For mindfulness, we practice deep breathing and chair yoga. It helps us get ready for our day to be the best learners we can be. It makes us feel prepared, calm, peaceful, and ready. During our morning meeting, we share tour check-in or an internal weather report. Town meeting. At town meeting, we practice three collective breaths with the school's community and tried a few yoga stretches to calm the mind and body for listening. We also had student yoga instructors go into the fourth and fifth classrooms to teach. Let's practice together with you. At the sound of the chime, you can place one hand on your heart center and one hand on your belly. And we're going to practice some breathing. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Releasing anything that's not serving you today. Together we will do the crescent moon on each side 2 times. So you're gonna put your hand over the head, and when I say inhale, you're gonna go to what side is comfortable, and then exhale, and go to the other side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to practice a forward fold, and I have 2 options for you. You can place your hands up, and then you can reach down and try to reach the ground, or you can go just halfway and then 200 reach the ground. Down, reach up.
And if you can do that without making noise, you are younger than I am.
We will end the session with a chime and deep breaths that work for you. Me and Juliana will be doing the butterfly breaths. The session with we are grateful for being here today. Would anyone like to share what they are grateful for today? Would anybody like to share what they're grateful for today? There's no hands, that's okay.
Wow.
We're grateful that you guys were so brave to share with us.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us. Mrs. LaRochelle's class will share ELA. Hi, I'm Audrey. And I'm Carissa. We are in Mrs. LaRochelle's class. In ELA, we read Promises to Keep and learned about the important factors that help Jackie Robinson succeed in breaking barriers and leading social change, like perseverance, courage, and teamwork. We wrote summaries using main ideas and key details. As a final project for our first unit, we worked in partnerships to create maps of a successful life, showing what traits and factors lead to success. We used evidence from the book to support our ideas. Now we're currently learning more about how to identify and describe point of view. We are in Mr. Koba's class. I'm going to be sharing about multiplication. One thing we learned was multiple ways to multiply 2 by 2 digit numbers. We have 3 ways to multiply. First, we have area model. We break it up to make a 2 by 2 model, and then we add partial products from each equation to make our sum. The second way is the easy way. In the easy way, we add all of the partial products and write all of the products at the bottom of the equation. After we add them all together to create the sum. The last way that we have been taught is the standard algorithm, which is an older way that I'm still working on. So I'm not going to share a lot about it.
Yeah.
I find it harder than the rest of them. That's just me. I will be sharing about division. In division, we are learning how to do the partial quotient. I think it's really helped us a lot. We also do the area model. Next, we're dividing a multi-division divisor. And I'm pretty sure we were all excited but scared for the next upcoming math. Yeah. Hello, I'm Jonathan Conk. And I'm Mason Quinn. We are in Miss B and Cardi's class. In science, we ask questions, explore, and discover new ideas instead of just being told facts. That's inquiry-based science. We do experiments, make observations, and figure things out using evidence. We like being curious and discovering how things work. We just finished up our unit on math and chemical reaction. At the end of this unit, we did an investigation with meteorites and rocks. We had to test meteorites and each rock to see if it was a meteorite, using common properties of meteorites to help us. Believe it or not, we found a meteorite. Right now, we are building our cardboard arcades. For this, we planned out and designed games that we could construct out of cardboard. We play, test our games, and revise them often. We are excited to see and try out all of our classmates' final products. Thank you. I am Coco. I'm Drew. And I am Drew. We are in Mr. Lowenthal's class. In social studies, we learned about mapping skills and how to apply these skills to a map of Connecticut, learning how to navigate and understand our local geography better. We also learned about the parts of a map. These parts help us read and use maps more effectively. We also explored different types of maps, such as political maps, physical maps, and thematic maps, to understand how maps have different purposes and kinds of information. Each student worked on a fun project where we created a map of our favorite places in Connecticut. This project allows us to apply everything we've learned about maps in a creative and personal way, highlighting our understanding of key mapping skills.
Thank you all so much, and another round of applause for our great.
Thank you all for coming.
Good job.
They'll never use the map again. I know that's why I was good. Good to have that mindfulness thing. Huh? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
With that, including presentations, we'll move on to number 5, public comment. Do we have any public comments referring to items, agenda items? go to online. Do you have any public comment pertaining to agenda items? You can raise your hand or. One more time, if there's any one that wants to speak in public comment on agenda items online, if you can raise your hand. Okay, with that, I'll move to number 6, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the regular meeting on November? Actually, we're in Chelsea's out, so which is
It was
most recent one?
the board meeting.
Okay, so the first two, motion to approve the November 13th, 2024. Oh, no, that's the first one, right?
That's the first, that's the one,
Right,
right?
motion to approve November 13th, 2024.
Move. Second.
Do you have any corrections?
Yeah, and I sent it to you, so the wording in what I sent is better, but I just wanted to clarify. The minutes stated that I said that will never happen in Connecticut, and I just wanted to be explicit what I was talking about. At the time, we were talking about teachers within the same bargaining unit getting pay differentials based on their certification. So I just wanted to put that's what I said.
Yep, so we want to clarify that we're referring to paying people in the same bargaining unit differently based on their
Yep.
certification.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, with the corrections.
Aye.
Motion to approve the special meeting on November 25th, 2024 and December 9th, 2024. Motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Bob. Second, by Linda. All right, any discussion or changes? I don't see any on these. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Lindsay. So you deferred your items and Bob didn't ask any questions. I will also be brief, knowing that we have a concert tonight. I will have a few more things to say about the calendar when we get to new business and can certainly answer questions related to swing space. Regarding that, I do want to remind the board of the request I made at last month's regular meeting, and that is if the swing space decision is to go forward, as we've recommended, that you also consider this evening the administrative positions and changes. And again, I can go over those when we get to that point, if you guys indeed decide to do that. So just wanted to plant that seed before we get there. Also,
So we're voting on administrative? Is that what you're saying?
what I'm saying is if we indeed decide to send the 4th grade to Lyman and the 5th grade to Strong, last month I had mentioned some administrative changes that I was recommending. And again, you don't have to approve those tonight. It's just if you could, that would be helpful in our planning moving forward. And I'll go over all those when we get to that segment. And then this you all received an email, but I just wanted to get it into the minutes that our increasing educator diversity plan has finally been approved by the state. It's now on the state's website, and as of this afternoon, it's also on the district website. I want to thank Kevin and all the other folks that assisted him with that. It was not an insignificant effort, and happy for us to reach that milestone. And lastly, I'm not withholding on the 23-24 profile and performance report that you guys asked me to do last month. It's still not available. As soon as it is, I'll share that with you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Number 8, staff reports, Director of Finance. Oh, I just looked for you over here.
I know. We finished November with 39% of our budget expended. We've received 41% of our revenue, and we've encumbered 99% of our budget. It's gonna be a tight year. The buildings and departments have submitted their budgets, proposals and budgets for 25-26. And We are reviewing them now in the business office, and we'll have meetings scheduled when we return from the break and for questions and clarifications. And then lastly, in January, at our January meeting, the auditors will be here to present the 23-24 audit. Like they were just here. Feels like they were just here. Any questions for Kim?
Okay, move on to 9, committee reports, student achievement committee.
Okay, this is a student achievement for November 13. We had a classroom practice showcase by Carolyn LaRosa and a couple of 2 middle school students on their electives. One of the electives was enrichment, which is an opportunity for students to experience additional learning opportunities or challenges, and is taken by all the 6th graders. The 7th and 8th grade electives are Spartan News, where students create news segments that are important to the strong community by suggesting ideas, creating a storyboard, collecting footage, and then editing to make a story. Innovate and Create is where students design and create a variety of different prototypes with the goal of evaluating their design often and redesigning to create the best version of that prototype. Custom Creations, where students use technology to create custom designs for themselves, strong community events, and for the new school store. And Robotics, where students problem solve through hands-on building to create a functioning design. Flight and Space is the last one, where students investigate different concepts associated with flight and space, including aerodynamics, force, drag, and lift. The second item was up to update. We had updates from our Associate Directors of Learning and Innovation. Dr. Siegel reported that teachers and administrators met with representatives from Goodwin to review the Health and Human Services pathway and to develop recommended course sequencing for the business pathway. Mr. Corrado reported they are looking into revising the grade 4 report card to align with the existing math playlists. Our third item was a curriculum review, the high school course proposals, acceptance, and high school scope and sequence review and acceptance. The committee discussed school timelines because the information for a number of the course proposals was not available. It was agreed to meet remotely. We discussed it again on December 4th remotely. Item number 4, updates to the curriculum handbook. Dr. Siegel provided links to new forms and copies, and she's continuing to work on the handbook. Item number 5, graduation requirements update. That was also tabled until the next meeting. Number 6, recent and proposed strong school electives for 24-25, 25-26. Mrs. Gonzalez did not see any new proposed courses for next year. 4 courses were presented for 6th grade only. Global Grooves, which is a movement class. Global Games, which is games from different parts of the world. Ag Ventures, which is an agricultural related elective. And Soundtrap, where students are making their own music. These electives are in addition to regular classes. Item number 7 was review of the middle grade schedule and staff feedback on schedule changes to grade 6. 6th grade teachers and staff were sent a survey because of the schedule change. I believe they were not switching classes. They were actually going to stay with one teacher. 18 staff received the survey and 11 responded, which was about 61%. The results were mixed. The change was the 80-minute classes in the morning for math, science or social studies, and also for language arts. Teacher responses include that the increased time for math was improved mastery and allowed for more comprehensive coverage of materials. Some felt 80-minute classes were too long. There were similar responses with ELA. The biggest benefit was seeing the students every day. Related arts teachers stated that they are seeing the students less, which is resulting in less content coverage, but the time is more appropriate for that for the 6th grade age group. While staff work with 7th and 8th graders in the morning, they find that the 6th grade students are more active in the afternoons, even though they do get 10 minutes for recess. The students were fine with the 80-minute classes. Teacher certification was also discussed as 6th grade teachers can teach any content area. 7th grade teachers can only teach specific subject areas. So conversations about teacher certifications will be addressed at a future student achievement committee meeting. Lastly, we had staff feedback on the schedule changes for grade 5. And this is where the teachers went from switching to one teacher teaching all the subjects. fifth grade teachers were asked about the amount and quality of instructional time and the positives and challenges that have arisen with the new schedule. It was felt that time is used better with no time wasted for switching classes. EL is better because teachers are able to take breaks as needed. Of course, the teachers would love to have more planning and collaborative time. Teachers are now able to create their own schedules and felt positive about being able to build community within their class. Having the students all day also results in less stress for the teachers. They were also able to have more family communication because now they are responsible for 21 students and not 103. Teachers were also more knowledgeable of student IEPs and intervention plans. The only non-positive takeaways were having to embed student breaks and struggling to get attention back after those breaks, which is expected. And the last thing was, there was a question that was asked, is there any way to engage students when taking SBAC tests? And scores don't always provide the whole picture. It's very rare that you see a child's scores go up as they get older because the tests take a long time and the students don't find meaning in them and they don't get any immediate feedback. Did I make it in 2 minutes?
Oh,
I think it was close.
the next one is too good. That's true. That's true. Yeah, I wasn't specific on which ones were. So, okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Lucy. We'll move on to Tina, ad hoc, special ed oversight committee meeting from the 18th.
Thank you. This is gonna be longer than 2 minutes, but it's not much longer, but it will be. I'm not gonna be able to beat that time. So I wanted to go over the minutes from, or the report from the November 18th meeting, but because it was our last meeting, I also wanted to just give a summary of the like the oversight committee's work, and open up for discussion if that's, you know, possible for, if people have questions, at the end. So, starting with the November 18th meeting, most of this is in the final report, but I did want to touch on public comment because I do think it is pertinent. We had 2 people speak during public comment. One was Erica Fisher, who's the support staff union president, who talked about the fact that she felt that the committee, the oversight committee, had kind of shone a light on what conversations and concerns people in her union felt like they needed to be raised. She was very positive that she and Mrs. Keene had met numerous times already, and had had some very positive conversations, trying to answer questions, address concerns. One of the biggest things that came up was job descriptions that they were addressing. And she was very clear that people in her union are very encouraged and feeling a positive change. And I don't know if I said this, she's the support staff union president, so teaching assistants, et cetera. The other individual who spoke during public comment was Dr. Matt Tabor. He's one of the building representatives for the teachers union. He expressed some concerns that there may have been unintended allegations about the union. He felt like he was caught off guard, uncomfortable with the public forum of the meeting, the conversation that was happening there. So I thought those 2 were important to bring up. So just to recap, because I don't remember when the last time was that we discussed and had a report. It might have been in November. I don't remember. Was it? So just to recap, bring everybody back up to speed. And this is the last time you're going to be hearing from me in this capacity. The purpose of the committee, we established the committee at our August 14th meeting. And that followed the resignation of some FTE special education case managers during that spring and summer. The initial concerns that members of the board expressed were that the loss of experienced special ed case managers, the worry was a disruption of continuity of services, a reduction in institutional knowledge, and potentially impacting the support. So with that concern, Mr. Moore reached out and inquired as to why we lost that many individuals in a short period of time. And dissatisfied, I would say, with the response that he received The board chairs expressed the need to attempt to determine why those special ed staff members or others would be inclined to leave the district, especially when most of those individuals were tenured members of the department with an average of about 11.8 years per individual in the district. So they brought to the board the need to examine how staff resignations and retention challenges align with the board's role in supporting student outcomes. So always bringing it back to the board's role, how do we support student outcomes and how do we do that through staffing? We did briefly talk about third-party review, and it wasn't immediately requested. We talked about financial considerations, the need for confidentiality. Staff had expressed being willing to share information, and we weren't quite sure how a third-party review might work. And we wanted just to make sure that the response was proportional to conversations that we were going to have. So the big three goals of the committee were to, one, understand the reasons behind those resignations. Two, identify if there were any underlying issues with the goal of improving staff retention. And three, the third goal was to develop actionable recommendations to support staff, and by extension, obviously, our biggest priority, the students. So the way that we gathered this information, Mr. Moore and I both had conversations with certified, non-certified staff, administrators, former employees who volunteered to share their feedback, either one-on-one or in small groups. And we heard from about 50 individuals. There was a data review. The Special Education Oversight Committee looked at exit surveys, resignation rates from, I think, about 2017 to present. We examined pay scales, job descriptions, organizational charts during meetings. And we had, those small group one-on-one conversations, full committee discussions during those oversight committee meetings, and brought an updated to student achievement and to the full board. There was definitely a need to figure out a balance between confidentiality and transparency. And that was challenging at times. So jumping to the end, the key findings that we ended up discussing at our last meeting as to the possible reasons for resignations based on the information gathered. We discussed pay as not ending up being a primary factor. Resignations were not linked to individuals seeking higher paying roles. If anything, they were lateral moves, and pay was not a factor there. Team dynamics was also not a factor. We had a lot of people talking about how strong their teams were, how supportive their teams were within their buildings, their rapport, support within each building. Other things that came up as questions were job clarity, right? So Erica actually spoke to that during public comment, that lack of clear job descriptions or expectations contributed to some frustration on the part of staff. We also had a lot of individuals who talked about climate and having concerns and feeling like the atmosphere in the workplace, not within their teams, was negative, including people in positions of power being reactive, intimidating, dismissive. These are all words that they used. Unilaterally making decisions about programming for children. Reports also included instances of passive aggressivity. I don't know how to say that. Passive aggressive comments, favoritism, and really undermining moral and professionalism. They also conveyed a significant culture of fear, with staff expressing concerns about raising workplace issues or worries about student services, and fearing retaliation there. And that was a big one. That's the one that kept coming up. Other concerns, some employees expressed burnout, and some employees, some certified staff employees made reference to their unions. So at that last meeting, we came up with some recommendations and discussion that were shared. Addressed with support from Bob and Kevin were looking at improving organizational structure. So they drafted an organizational chart to look at maybe how to alleviate some of those stress points in there. We discussed addressing staffing needs, considering adding case managers, additional support roles. Also discussed was improving support shadowing opportunities, determining ideal staffing levels, and we talked a lot about the substitute pool and exploring alternative methods for recruiting substitutes. Discussion was also centered around improving the reporting culture, figuring out how to improve the climate at the top rather than placing the burden on the teachers. If the teachers are expressing concern about retaliation, an anonymous survey may not be the thing to get the information that we need. And that I typed up into a chart and I shared that, I distributed that with the committee after the last meeting. And so in terms of outcomes, progress is being made per the support staff. Improvements are being made in defining job descriptions and support roles. Bob and Kevin have worked on the SPED organization chart. We had a discussion about recommendations and action items pertinent to individuals. The ongoing issues that I bring to you today are still questioning, and we've talked about it a lot, and I mentioned it during every meeting, feelings of intimidation by staff. Folks are reaching out and saying they're still getting questioned. Did you talk to Tina? Did you have a conversation with Tina? Feeling intimidated about that, like there are reasons why they're being asked, that confidentiality would be undermined, still concerns about retaliation and this culture of fear being raised repeatedly. Some employees continue to reference the certified staff union. And, you know, the two items that we also had some board members who have also experienced some of that same intimidation, like including some warnings about be careful and the like. And that is concerning. And then the last piece, that there were questions that have come up as a result regarding special education law and statute. I can't say more than that due to confidentiality of staff and FERPA, but I do think that they warrant further review. The confidentiality piece, the employees reporting continued negative climate. We need to make sure that the district's meeting its legal obligations and providing the appropriate services to all of our kids and all of our staff. We have state and federal obligations that we have to meet. I did say that I was gonna, you know, we could talk about suggested next steps if we want to. The first course of action, my first suggestion in the short term would be for the superintendent to address the issue of the negative climate, including those patterns of intimidation and retaliation that staff continue to discuss. This wasn't one person that reported this to Bob and I. This was multiple people across multiple schools. You know, it's our responsibility as the board to commit to and show that we're committed to fostering a professional workplace. That's essential for our district's success. It's essential for our kids' success. I don't know, and this is why I kind of want to open it up to discussion and see what the thoughts are. Some of the other things that we could do moving forward would be, you know, I have that chart talking about, what do you call it? Oh my gosh, the recommendations with, you know, who would, you know, look at that, like Bob and Kevin taking a look at HR charts and all that. The other thing, and Doug had brought it up a few weeks ago, is we could request an independent administrative review facilitated by an organization like CERC or CABE, where they could look at workplace protection and, you know, and continued superintendent engagement with the board, sharing how things are going in individual schools. You know, it's our intention to take a step back at this point, now that, you know, we've had the conversations, we've done a summary, and see where that goes with some pretty, you know, strong encouragement to really take a look at the climate.
My only question, and, you know, we can look at January, putting it, I know, you know, so last time we talked on it, but, you know, taking it out of the committee reports and adding it as an agenda item for January, so that we could outline recommendations or steps,
Okay.
or anything that you wanted to discuss post the last meeting.
Is that something that we need to do, is kick it to January?
Yeah, I just think so, because, past the committee report discussion, we should probably put on an agenda. I just, as you were talking, I think it's probably
No,
what to do, and then it'll give us some more time to kind of digest the meeting, to the ones who aren't there, and then have that discussion in January.
If you have the written document, you could send it out for it.
that would be great. And it would be discussion.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm not presenting again.
No, no. I'll say per my discussion of the.
Per the
yeah.
materials before you, okay.
Yeah.
So what I will send out then to the group, to the board, the full board, including all admin and anybody who's around the table who is.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that will be the summary, that will be the recommendations list, and that's it. Okay,
We can discuss those recommendations.
super, thank you.
And thank you, Tina. I know it's been a lot of work, and we know how hard you work, so thank you. Okay, policy and building.
Policy committee met, and we worked basically on the facility use, facilities policy, recommending no change in the policy. But a lot of the regulations, including the fees and stuff, were modified, and he came back to work on those modifications to address changes in the fee structures. In particular, to relate for the basketball, soccer, and football youth league, and reduce some of those fees that were in the original regs. So those are actually, they were presented tonight, so we'll talk about them as they get published. The building committee met, and we talked about the lights there, and whether or not we could light the edges of the track so that the far edges could be lit at night, and we got a proposal tonight for that, so we'll talk about that next time. The paved picket lane parking lot up and back on the north parking lot by the football field, and that's been paved. There's 50 additional parking spaces there, and that was done. The discussion of the sidewalk, they met with the town and worked out the directions and the placement of the future sidewalk, which would be done this summer. There would be a slight road closure from the school because of how narrow the area is where the sidewalk would be. We also talked about Eric had put in drainage on the baseball field to eliminate the wet area in the outfield. Also, did the softball field cleared off, put some piping in there to drain that field as well. So hopefully both fields will be usable in the spring. We did get a proposal to replace the track service. We're trying to do this summer. We're getting a few more proposals, but we talked about that and the cost of that. We did spend some time talking about tennis courts. We had further discussion, and prior to this meeting, there needs to be probably a long-term plan for maintenance and lighting, which we did not solve. And then on the facility update, we recommended the use of the construction manager at risk. and directed Kim to develop the RFP and RFQ for the design and construction manager, when, we get the grant from the state. And that was it.
Bob wins.
But-
For one,
Right?
we didn't meet, so next one.
I can do board communications and professional development at the end. But technically do that or not.
Second student achievement.
Oh, second, I'll figure
student
that
achievement
out. Go ahead.
committee. An hour and a half meeting in less than 2 minutes.
Do it. You got
On December 4th, we met remotely to discuss the curriculum review of the high school proposals, to accept them, and the high school scope and sequence review and acceptance. The courses are broken down into 3 categories. Classes already in the program of studies that did not go through student achievement. Classes requesting to be added to the program of studies for 2025-26, and courses that would be considered for the future. For classes already in program of studies that need approval, there are 7 classes in this group: Unified Health, Experimental Design, the Art of Teaching, EMR, Fire Science, Exercise Science, Introduction to Economics. Some ran in the fall semester, some are scheduled for the spring. Some courses have a detailed curriculum, others only a scope and sequence. The committee needs to see a detailed curriculum that includes assessments, learning objectives, understandings, essential questions, and a pacing guide. And we thank Linda for bringing all of that to the forefront.
Thank or curse.
There was discussion about the time needed to develop a curriculum if a course does not have enough students to sign up and does not run. Committee made a motion to approve Unified Health, Experimental Design, the Art of Teaching, EMR, Fire Science, and Intro to Economics, pending the receipt of the objectives pending the receipt of objectives, enduring understandings, essential questions, summarized assessments, and summative assessments. Sorry, that's my typing. At least one anchor learning activity, list of resources, and tiered vocabulary for each unit. The second part was the classes requesting to be added to the program of studies for 25-26. Classes in this group are biomedical exploration, introduction to sociology, fundamentals of world cultures, music in our lives. Discussion and concerns were similar to previous course discussion, and some courses were further explained. The committee made a motion to approve the offerings of biomedical exploration, introduction to sociology, and music, with a curriculum to be developed and presented to the Board of Education for approval by July, if the course is determined to run. There was further discussion about the fundamentals of world cultures course and the need to define the goals and objectives of world languages. The committee did not approve this course. The last piece was courses that would be considered for the future. There's 5 courses in this group: esports, business law, managerial finance, computer applications, and marketing 2. Interest surveys indicate that business is on top of health, and interest in business is on top of health and human services. So business pathway is being expanded. And the committee made a motion to approve the courses to expand the business pathway of esports, business law, managerial finance, computer applications, and marketing 2, with a curriculum to be developed and presented to the Board of Education for approval by July, if these courses are determined to run.
Not bad, 3
It's an
minutes.
hour and a half.
Oh, that was pretty
Did I miss
good.
anything?
No, that's perfect.
Did I miss
Yeah,
anything?
fine.
No, you did great. Thanks.
Okay, 10 board communications, professional development. I just have 2. Bob and I are going to the legislative breakfast tomorrow at Westbrook that we're hosting with Westbrook and Madison. And so that's from 9 to 10 tomorrow. So we'll be down there. Oh, and sorry, Doug's coming as well.
Okay.
Uh,
Independents are allowed in June, even though it's a board thing.
I met the other night with, the other day with the education co-chairs. And we talked a lot about the upcoming legislation on special education and really asking us like where they can help regional districts. We had a really great conversation between, the co-chairs and, Region 4, Essex, Deep River, that whole conglomerate. So I think it's gonna be really productive in them hearing our voice for funding for special ed transportation, programming, and the like. So that's all I have on that.
Have something.
Yeah.
Communication Sam Edinger, not to confuse with Samantha Eidinger of Middlefield. Sam Edinger needs or would prefer if we have some discussion at some point in the future about making District 13 a device-free zone. Truly device-free. The mounting studies are coming across saying, you know, there's this proven studies that say that's destructive. It's not always good and positive. It needs to be a conversation, and I'm not speaking for the board, but I agree with him very much. Sam and I were probably the last people in Middlefield to have a flip phone, just so you know.
Flip phone.
And I think there's gonna be a lot of data that comes out on the electronic. There's a lot of districts implemented on the new recommendations, so I think we'll have a lot to look at when we do look at it.
Our middle schools use them and it's phenomenal this year. The kids don't even ask for them anymore. It's like such a non-issue. They just have the pouches in their pocket, so they have their phone, but they're never out. There's never, you don't have to tell anybody to put it away. There's no distraction, even in lunch.
We can take a look at it in January, February.
My district I work at, a
Yeah.
huge difference in 1 year.
Yep.
Incredibly
easy.
different climate.
Yeah, I just, because it's been Thanksgiving and Christmas, I've had a lot of social meetings. And one of the things that has come up almost every time with people I've met is that they're concerned about Lindsay and the chairman, and some of the stuff they're reading in social media, where, you know, and I just have to say that, you know, to them, that Lindsay only reported incidents that were affecting the well-being of our students. They were referred to the administration on every case, and the administration took action. I also need to point out that since Lindsay's been the chair, we've done a lot related to our sporting events. First of all, we paid Picket Lane, we built the field house, we finished the pump house, saved money on our fire safety. We placed culvert on the road, we put in a new turf on the football field, we put in new bathrooms, we put in lights. We paved the upper parking lot. We did drainage on both baseball and softball field, and the ongoing fire safety stuff. We also adopted a regional plan amendment that was started in 2015. That was done. Both been approved, and then we got a referendum approval of our financing for the project for the expansion of the school. These all things I think are done. We also done with Kim and also done with Eric, but I think the recognition of this at the end of the year is important. That this board, this community, this school, this administration have really done a huge amount of work this year in a very short time period. And I wanted to thank Lindsay for her leadership and Kim and Eric.
Good job. Bob.
Aw,
Um,
been a long year.
And it's only December.
Yeah.
all right, so I can't do anything past that one. We'll move on.
And let's just point out we're all volunteers.
No, I'm proud of every one of you. New business, vote to enter into contract with superintendent search. I sent you guys all, the breakout from CABE, explaining, you know, the process for our superintendent search. You know, some things to really note, and what I really like, and you know, some members were part of the last one. This is a different firm that we would be going with. We make that motion tonight. So there's 3 sections. The first 3 weeks, development of selection criteria and advance preparation. And that's where they really dig down with, you know, what we want, meet the Board of Education, establish the criteria and the consultant role, establish a timeline, utilize regional and national networks to recruit, survey and conduct advanced focus groups with the board, schools, and community members, and place and then create that leadership profile. The second section, recruitment and screening applicants. That would all be done ahead of time coming into, before it came to the board. So it's a good process for them to be able to go through and say, you know, they meet these requirements, they don't. And really get a feeling from those first 3 weeks and those surveys, you know, what really came out of that, what we really want. And then finally, the selection and appointment, which would end up being the final week, but that middle section is that chunk would be about 90 days. it's an extensive period of time to be able to develop a lot of that screening tools.
I need a motion to hire.
Yeah, so we need a motion to enter into contract for superintendent search consultant with CABE Executive Search Services.
So move. Second.
Lucy, second by Tina.
So we're selecting a firm here?
Yeah, I'm just wondering too.
What were the choices?
Really only two largest firms. That's why when we met as a search committee came out of those two, was the one that was used last time and then this one. Those are the two major players.
I was gonna say, how are they different than the one that was used last time? Like, is the price better, price different, or is it more?
This one's significantly lower, correct? Kim, from about
Well,
50. About,
Last time it was in the 20s, this time it's 12.8.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking.
and that whole package, I think I skipped over that slide, but it's in there, would be 12, that base would be 12,800. The only thing after that would be if there was travel from out of state. We chose an applicant from out of state. So we pay for that on top of some advanced background checks that could be added to that amount. And that was the recommendation from the search committee.
Oh, okay. One thing was, in Waterbury, they're in the search for a superintendent too, and it was, CJG Consultant. Was that, I didn't hear the name of the other one.
Yeah, no, these are just this was the ones that came from recommendations for the two large firms.
Okay.
And this is also CABE in this program, which is basically our association, and they provide the service. That's why it's very inexpensive. And they would leave a lot of the public comment stuff and generate a lot of the stuff that we didn't have last time. That was also during COVID,
It
but
was,
Yeah.
Oh,
And I think you've looked through, you kind of worked with Mary as well, correct?
I've met her.
Yeah. But this summer, that was
Roderick?
yeah,
Yeah.
this was the group this summer that I had done all the UConn interviews with, graduating candidates for superintendent programs at UConn. They did the entire mock for that. So Mary and I had a chance to interact. It's an amazing experience. I think she's very empathetic and thoughtful and concise.
I don't know if they saw the information that you sent, which kind of really outlines CABE's the scope and sequence of their whole process, not even scope, I'll call it a curriculum because it's a lot more detailed than the scope and sequence and all the other superintendents that they recommended in the past, all the other districts. There's a whole thing that was just recently sent out to all of us.
okay.
Yep, that was the search history and references from 2014 to present. Most recently, I don't think they're in order of recent.
Oh, you just today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, just try to count them. I think it's about 54. And those are all since 2014.
Oh,
Do they have a focus on the Northeast? Is that kind of their
CABE is our association.
Yeah. So 54 within the state? In the last 30
Yeah.
years?
No, I think they're within, they have some that are out.
Sounds like a lot.
Region 1, Montville, Newtown, Canterbury, Granby, so these are all within ours. Some in Massachusetts, it's like. And I think there were a couple outside of that realm. These are all in Connecticut, aren't they? There's a couple that I'm sure.
you have a second.
Any more discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, motion passes. We'll send them off to Mary and we'll try to get a meeting together with the search committee with this board, because that's the search committee. Okay, B, vote, discussion and possible vote on swing space. I know that since the December 9th meeting, we all had a lot to go home with, and I know some of you have reached out individually to get questions from different administrators. I think I've seen most of it, but I didn't know if there was anything that wasn't covered. But there were still questions on past that. I know that myself and Kim and I had a discussion about that sixth grade group with 4 classes, and what we had come through and figured out was that the way that Rusty put the 4 classrooms, he put the 6th graders in those rooms. But the homerooms are structured so that there are actually 6 homerooms. So 2 related arts teachers in the building teach a homeroom for the 6th grade. So there have been 25 or 26 kids in those classrooms. And then after a homeroom breaks out, they go to 5 separate sections, including related arts, band, and they travel as a group of 5. So that any given time, depending on the enrollment for band or chorus, could be between 17 and 22. So that highest classroom size technically would be between that 17 and 22. I don't know if anyone else had any other discussions they want to. Okay.
The only other thing I heard is that in the first year, you're moving the cohort of current 4th and 5th graders would be together. 5th and 6th if we went to the strong school, and the current 3rd graders would stay where they are for the 4th grade, so that you would have a group that stays together longer.
Anyway.
Can I go back? I forgot, just to the board communication for a second. I forgot that we got the Middlefield people, we got a email from Jim Irish reminding us that Middlefield has a second descendant of the original Connecticut charter oak tree that needs preservation. It's at Memorial School. It needs to be protected during any remodeling construction work associated with the school. So I just wanted to put that on the top of everybody's mind. Put that in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very constructive this week. Okay. Do you want to forward that to?
Yeah.
Forward that to.
By discussion, do you mean like, are we throwing out opinions or?
Yeah, anything you guys came across. Yeah, we can make a motion and go through discussion if you want.
Well, I think before we make a motion, we should get a recommendation from the superintendent as to what the administration has decided they feel is the best option for the swing space.
And not just financially.
No.
Yeah, I think just
educational
reiterating
option.
short, like.
You want me to go through the whole slide deck again, or?
No, just with the.
With this.
Let me just, I pulled up my slides. Yeah, I know. So.
Yes.
If you still have your packets, the recommendation is modified from the original. So again, we recommended that grades 2, 3, and 4 be housed at Lyman, grades 5 through 8 be housed at Strong.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But the rain is so loud.
Yeah, let me speak up
Can you
louder.
yes, please, just a little louder?
Yes, okay.
Please, thank you. I
The,
appreciate it. Sorry.
I usually get just the opposite, that I'm too loud, but,
And
And
the-
also, as part, I'm sorry, Doug, as
Yeah.
also part of the recommendation, can you explain who came up with this recommendation as well, too, please? Like, was it a group of individuals or yourself?
it's, okay, let's start with that.
Yeah, please.
First of all, it's my recommendation. But to your point, just about every recommendation that I would ever come to you all with as superintendent is informed by others. And so it was our leadership team, which is our principals, our central office staff. We meet about once a week, and we kind of dived in on this early on, and then coming back on it following the last meeting, when you all asked us to, re-examine, especially in the light of some of the alternatives that some of the parents and others had brought forward to myself and also to the board. So that's the process that we used internally. I'm sorry about the rain. The recommendation, again, is grades 2 through 4 at Lyman, 5 through 8 at Strong, with no changes to the current configurations at Brewster and the high school. The modifications to that original proposal that we made based on the feedback that we received over the last month, and also just taking a harder look at the situation, was to add a mobile, which would be 2 additional classrooms added to Lyman's campus, and this would allow us to have each grade level located in a similar place. And Tom went through the maps, and we had maps that we showed you all. The original maps that we kind of came up with without that mobile, a grade level, probably 4th, would be separate from the other 4th grade classes. And in addition to that, there are dedicated related arts spaces in that building that would have to be used for less related arts and would make the whole campus a little bit more compact. So you don't have to approve that part of the recommendation, but that is the recommendation. And I think we unpacked some of the rationale. I think Tom did a nice job with that. And then with Strong, the main tenets there was we would recommend a completely separate start and end time from the high school. So basically decoupling Strong from the high school in terms of both the start and end times for the school. And obviously the bus routes, that was one of the concerns that we would have. So we would have Strong buses and Coggin buses, but they wouldn't be the same buses, and they would have different start and finish times. And then we had a floor plan that was adjusted. I think Cheryl did a great job explaining that, that does everything we can to create a 5th grade wing of the building that keeps those children separate from grades 6 to 8 to the extent possible. And again, Cheryl went through a lot of the different ways that would happen, not just with the layout, but with the operation of the school. That helpful, Lucy, or did you want more detail on
Nope.
that?
That's fine. And I think the other thing I would like to have you also talk about is the feedback that you received from the staff, not only from the Lyman teachers, but all the staff that would be affected by these swing space changes. What feedback did you receive? from
Yeah,
them?
I'll only speak for the feedback I have received. The largest comment, and this wasn't designed this way, but it worked out well. Every year I do small group meetings with grade levels, departments, things like that. I'm probably about halfway through at this point for the year. The number one comment that came from staff is that they wanted a decision to be made. People want to know where they are going to be. The staff at Memorial, they know they're not going to be at Memorial. There's no plan that we could come up with. They wanted to know where they were going to be. And, you know, they said it tactfully, but they'd like to know sooner versus later. And so they are expecting this decision because this is the only plan that was put out there since the spring. But since this conversation continued this past month, they kind of wanted to be either reassured that that was the plan or to know what the plan was going to be. I think the groups I talked to at the middle school, again, they were expecting another grade level of children to come, and they wanted to just, again, know that it was happening and know how it was going to be happening. So a lot of the things that we've already put out there, they know now that we've proposed to them, but they would like to get to the next phase, as would the leadership team, in terms of being able to do more planning around this and knowing that that is what we were going to do. So that's kind of a 30,000-foot flyover, and I could talk for hours. But I think, yeah, I think I'll say one more thing about Strong. They were overwhelmingly supportive of the idea of a slightly later start and later finish. And I don't think that was all just because they don't like getting up as early as they have to right now, but I think that was part of it, and also committed to it being a single start and finish time for that building. Initially, we had talked possibly of doing some split shifting, and there was a lot of pushback from them. Not that they couldn't do it, but how disruptive that would be, and might even divide some of the faculty who would be coming in and out at different times, and, you know, different bus times and all of those things.
Yeah, this might make great experimentation.
I can do a motion.
Yeah.
You want to make, okay,
Yeah, that's, I'd like to make a motion to support the administrator's recommendation for grades 2 to 4 at Lyman and grades 5 to 8 at Strong as swing space locations until completion of the memorial renovation to house grades pre-K through 5. So. Who wants to make it to the
Second,
Are we, wait.
We're getting into discussion now. And then, all right, so the second by Linda,
Do we need-
and then
We add as
we need to add anything to
the options that. This includes. the
Oh, with
options
the
that he
options.
just
Yeah, it
talked
should be
about.
with, and with the option, the modified options.
Right.
That was into it. So I'll put that in with dates.
Can you rewrite,
Swing
can you read
space.
that? Can you read that, please?
Easy for you.
All right.
Options, that would be for grade 5, for the middle school. They were just. For the middle school.
And one.
Oh, and,
one
and,
mobile for
for middle school.
If it's helpful to the motion, you might want to say as presented on, was it the 9th?
Yeah.
Is that the day of our meeting?
Yeah.
On December
Do you have a
9th,
date, do
because
you have a date on that?
Yeah.
December 9th.
With
you
modifications.
can take all, you can take that language out. And just put the recommendations presented
Yeah.
by the,
Modifications as presented.
by the administration on December 9th. 2024.
December 9th, right, okay, so it's a motion to support the administrator's recommendation for grades 2-4 at Lyman and grades 5-8 at Strong, a swing space with modifications as presented by the administration on 12-9 until completion of the memorial renovation to house pre-K through 5.
And separating out the administrators want to separate out a vote. We come back to that since he just,
Back to that.
so we'll,
I would make them separate motions,
Yeah, what's that?
because the second one doesn't matter if the first one doesn't pass.
I just want to make sure that, okay, so that one doesn't include the
It did,
administrative.
I presented that on the 13th.
Okay.
But if you're comfortable with it, I prefer that be separate motion. I think that's better. We can do the first without the second,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not true.
You heard that second? Linda?
oh, yeah, second, hey, you.
Discussion. Discussion. No discussion.
And I guess I'm the only one, so I'm just gonna, throw it out there, because I don't think it's a big surprise to any of you guys that I'm not in favor of it. I've gone back and forth with it in my head, and I see the pros and cons, and I've even bothered most of you guys for your pros and cons. But I do believe that, I don't know, we've learned in this position that for big decisions like this, no matter what decision or which way you go, there's always gonna be a group of people that are gonna be like up in arms with you. Sometimes your own board members, but, I'm gonna, like, I've learned to just trust my gut, and I'm gonna vote as a mom, because I also believe that my position here on the board is to listen to a huge population of people, and I put myself in that position as if my own child was going into 5th grade. I do not believe that that is where I would want that child to be yet. I do think there are other options that we had. So my personal feeling is that ideally, I would love for us to have backtracked and put 2nd grade in Brewster and had 3, 4, 5 at Lyman. Seeing how that's a lot to ask of 2nd grade teachers who just got moved to Lyman. I'm not in favor of 5th grade at Strong. I do believe that 5th grade has to stay at Lyman. I realize it's not the most fiscally responsible decision of the board, but I do believe that there's, and I like the start time, the later start time and the busing, for the kids. I think that actually benefits the 6th graders and the 7th graders and 8th graders. And then also, I struggle because we've had discussion that we would be adding modifications too strong that would help in the future. I don't know if that's a guarantee. That's not a deciding factor for me because it's kind of out there still. It's not really set in stone, and so I don't think that should be a deciding factor. Because I think that would probably be my only deciding factor to be okay with making this move, is if we guarantee that all these modifications were gonna be made. So that's just my 2 cents. I realize I'm probably the only one on the board that disagrees, but I don't think that this is in the best interest of the kids.
Discussion.
I'd like to say I agree with you for that one fact with the fifth graders, and would there be a possibility to add in something that does, put that in stone, that there will be something separate for fifth grade to be in while that's strong?
Yeah, they're in a separate, they would be in a separate wing, maybe up in the top wing.
And that's actually one of
What's
the
it-
reasons
which
what's
room is it
actually
called?
hindering me, because I feel like if I'm a fifth grade parent, do I want to hear that my fifth grade students now gonna be secluded to an area of a building, or gonna be embraced in a community at another school as part of a second through fifth grade or third through fifth grade community? I mean, I'd obviously much rather my child be part of an elementary community than to be in a separate secluded entity of a building. So that actually does not make me feel better to vote for fifth graders going to strong, knowing that they're gonna be in a secluded area, because I think that actually sounds heartbreaking.
I taught in Strong for years, and that wing is, I feel like I'm gonna be, it's gonna be a problem if I say what I say, and it's gonna be a problem if I don't say what I say. But I would tell you that, nobody in the building is secluded. I totally understand your other points, and it is tricky, because I think about my own kids, like they went through Lyman and they were our family had some pretty significant challenges when my kids were going through their elementary age. So like the framing of this is hard for me as a parent. So I have to wear my bigger hat, my other hat in this, but in terms of Strong and the hallway where it is that we're looking at these classrooms, it is in the main corridor, down the hall from the main office, close to the nurse, close to guidance, stairwell right there to get you up and down from your related arts activities. I also
So
feel like
Green
me
Wing- the
saying,
Green Wing, the old one.
no,
No.
where the world language classrooms
Okay.
currently are. But I also feel like by me saying that, that's gonna take a whole group of folks who are upset about the kids being in the building anyway, like you can't. Darned if you do, darned if you don't, but I can assure you that they will not be in a secluded, walled off area.
Yeah, I realize that. I mean, they
I
have
know.
to walk to lunch and they
Right.
have to walk to go to specials, but to me, that's not,
If you know where
that's
the.
not an experience I would want my fifth grader to have
But
for
that's how
2
the-
years.
Okay, all right, we can agree to disagree. I understand where you're coming from. I think the way that those buildings have been built, I mean, the same thing at John Lyman, like my kids, when they were in fourth grade, they were in the portables, like that was separate. Would we call it secluded? I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't feel secluded or that they were secluded by being in their own area. Same thing with at Strong, we've had the green, the red, blue. Like,
That was nice.
I'm trying to just say like, they're not gonna be secluded, but also some people might want them secluded, so I'm gonna take my call off. I'll take my answer.
Yep,
there. Thank you very much.
exactly.
Not too long ago, there was concern when the sixth grade was moving over to the middle school. And, how they were gonna be integrated, or, what they were gonna be with seventh and eighth graders. And I believe the middle school has done a great job integrating these sixth graders, because we haven't heard anything. So they already have some pretty decent activities in place for the sixth grade, which could very easily, and I'm sure they will, include the fifth grade. So it'll be a fifth, sixth grade orientation to the middle school as opposed to just the sixth grade. So, it was there was a lot of angst about the sixth grade moving over, and they seem to have just fit in very nicely. I think second grade at Brewster, I believe that the space is a lot more confined, and I believe we need to put in more portables there in order to accommodate, because there's just no room there, whereas in my understanding with Lyman was that I believe the fourth grade was able to, and initially was just going to be integrated, but then that was going to create art on a cart and all these other things, so therefore it was decided that it would be educationally better for the students to add the two portables. And I believe they're already covered financially. There's not any additional expense for, not two portables, the one portable, that's a double. That
was not in the budget?
it's not in the budget, but is it something that's gonna cost extra? I thought I understood that it was pretty well covered.
There are contingencies in there that would be part of the contingency.
Could cover it, so it's not like we're adding any additional cost. But with these portables at Lyman, but we are adding a better educational structure for the couple of years that the students will be there. So it just seemed like it was a lot more positive. There was no question that we could not leave all the students at Memorial during construction. That would be criminal, because there's safety issues. You don't know what kinds of materials are going to be dug up and what the students will be breathing. I don't even know if they'd be able to have recess, because everything is going to be torn up in the back. So there was no question they couldn't stay there. It just wouldn't have been healthy for them, and educationally it wouldn't have worked either. But it was mostly a health issue, a health and safety issue. So those are just my thoughts.
Any other discussion?
Thank you for the honesty and really
Yes.
heartfelt
Right.
conversation on what's necessary.
Okay, what you think?
I realized I was probably outnumbered, but I just,
No, you have to say
Yeah.
that.
you have to vote for, I think most of you guys, I think what the downside of this board, this current board, is that a lot of you guys don't have younger kids in the school district. So I feel that sometimes that the decision-making is more of what's fiscally responsible, or, it'll work, but I do believe that if more people on the board had younger kids, that they're maybe looking at more of the whole child and the whole child experience.
I have to just respond to that, because I find
Of
that offensive.
course.
Well, I find that offensive. The whole reason why I am on this board is because of kids, right? And what's best for kids. So not having younger children, not having any children, but having devoted my life to education, that's not a cool thing to say. I hear what you're saying, but
And we can disagree, that's fine.
so you believe that my motivation in this is fiscal?
I'm not speaking out for anyone specifically, and I definitely am not turning this into a battle, because this is me speaking from my own opinion.
Yeah, but you
And my
offered an
own
opinion on our motivations,
experience.
on our motivation.
No, I feel that there may be more people who would be making a little bit more of a different decision on
This
this.
decision would never be good at any time.
Exactly.
Because it would affect people this year, next year, the following year,
Right.
year after year after year. I think that we
Somebody-
have given
somebody's
this,
gonna be affected.
I think we have given this a lot of consideration. And a lot of parents have come to me, have come to a lot of people on this board, and we have heard everybody. And everybody has a valid argument for themselves and for their kids, and we
Absolutely.
totally understand that. But we were voted in for a particular reason. We were voted to make a decision. Your decision's your own, right?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, I have children in district. Yeah, they're older. Would I be upset by it? I don't think so, because I think kids are resilient. I think parents are the ones that have to make the experience just as good for their children. And I get it. It's not going to be great. I totally understand that. But if we don't make a decision soon, this is not going to be beneficial long-term. We're not just thinking of today. We're thinking of 10, 15, 20 years down the road from now, and this district and how we need to make it better. In order for us to make it better, we need to be more fiscally responsible. Number one, we have to make the experience for these kids the most enjoyable thing possible. It's never a right time. I agree, it's never a right time, but we need to make a decision. Whatever that is, people need to respect it, and we need to move on.
Right, and I think that I did premise what my statement was, or how I feel. by saying I agree, I totally acknowledge that I'm probably the lone man standing here saying that I don't agree with
You
this
have your
plan.
right to say whatever you want.
So, and I also said, not only do I know that any decision or things I say on the board usually pisses off half the population, but I
Yeah.
realize that my standing up and speaking what I think is right would probably piss off a few board members. So here we
Nobody's
are.
upset.
And
We're making a decision that this think is for the best for everybody. It's not a matter of who's upset. Nobody's upset. I think we're just doing what everybody feels is the right decision. It's not, I mean, I'm trying to keep feeling out of it because there's a lot of people that have come to me as well too, that are not happy about it, that are close friends of mine as well too. And I get it. But the decision is gotta be made. And whatever that is, and whatever that vote is, we need to just respect it and move on.
absolutely, and we all will vote with what we in our gut
Absolutely.
feel is
I
the right
call,
decision.
I call question. I
That's
call
what I said.
point of order and let's move on here.
If I were a fifth grader, putting myself in a student's shoes,
I call the motion.
I would say that I would be
Second,
kind of excited to be with the bigger kids, but that's just me.
they're not.
We call on the questions. The first and second, yeah.
You probably have a roll call or no.
On the actual vote of the call the question.
No,
Yeah,
no,
call
the
the
vote.
question,
So we need to move on.
All right, all those, we have a motion second on the table. All those in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Right?
Any opposed?
Me.
More, Steve? No. Any abstained?
I'm.
Okay,
No abstentions?
motion passes. Well, I know it's not easy all around. I know we all have a lot of respect for each other. Discussion and possible vote to approve proposed district calendar.
Can we go back and do the administration recommendation?
My recommendation would be not to vote on administration. We just got
I
that
agree.
recommendation.
Until we have a budget in the process, I would like to tie it to the budget as well.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
in January, I think we'll have a full budget.
February.
Or, well, we'll have discussion in January.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. Again, district calendar, do you want to table district calendar? You want to do it real quick?
This is fast, but
Okay.
maybe you all want to table the vote on it. It's linked to your agenda. It is extremely similar to the current year's calendar, which we've gotten a lot of positives on for starting on a Monday for the faculty, starting on a Thursday for the children, having graduation on a Friday. It kind of did everything that people wanted. They like the start and the end dates. And the only difference that you'll see compared to the current year's calendar is that there is one fewer snow makeup day. And that results for the fact that in this year's calendar, Good Friday, which is normally a standalone holiday, is actually part of the spring break. And so that goes back in its traditional spot. And that gives us one fewer snow makeup day, which means we might have to make up an extra day at the end, but that's kind of what you do anyway. The teacher union has looked at it, they like it. So you can vote tonight or you can move it to next month.
All right, I think we should wait till next one, just so we can take a deeper look into it. Okay, with tabling, we don't need.
There's no
this
sense
for-
of urgency on it, but
Bring it
next
back
meeting
next
will be
month
here
for a
before you
vote.
know it.
Right, because you have to think about like people are starting to make plans for the
That's-
summertime. like-
December is when we've traditionally brought it to the board and had it approved, but I understand tonight's got a lot more going on, so.
I don't think you want
Yeah.
to take a vote on or wait till dinner.
Sure.
Okay. All right, with that, public comment, this is for agenda items on the agenda or off, and I just want to remind everyone, it's 7:38, if anyone has to leave for the concert, I know Maura had to go to the concert. So. You have any in-person?
You don't want me to read the preamble?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
All right, sorry. Good evening and welcome to the public comment portion of tonight's Board of Education meeting. We value and encourage your input from members of our community. To ensure that all voices are heard and that we maintain a respectful environment, we kindly remind participants to adhere to the following guidelines. Please approach the microphone. Well done. State your name and town of residence. When we get to the online portion, participants, please raise your hand, or if you can't find it, unmute to indicate your desire to speak. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to share their comments as specified in board policy. The board chair has the discretion to restrict, extend, or curtail comments at any time. All comments must refer to the education programming of RSD 13. Speakers and audience members are expected to maintain order and a sense of decorum. FYI, we've gotten feedback from some of the side conversations happening in the audience that it restricts people on Zoom, wherever the microphones are, it interferes with hearing what's happening at the board. It's board practice not to respond to comments during the meeting. It's not because we don't want to. Personal attacks, offensive language, or disruptions will not be tolerated. We appreciate your cooperation. Thank you for being here and for engaging in this important process.
Genevieve Khan, I'm living in the town of Durham.
Oh, you can look it up. It's a hazing.
Yeah. I'll prepare my 5th grader.
Yeah.
I just have a comment about like the voting process here, and while I really appreciate that you're concerned about my summer vacation plans, I think it reinforces some of what we heard about the culture of the institution that you all manage, that you are unconcerned that you have a faculty member in the audience today that you refused to acknowledge her position. And I don't have a dog in that fight. I just think it speaks about your moral character. And I really am surprised. This is the 2nd time I've been in a meeting and it's come up, and I'm stunned by it, and I can't, as a human being, not say something.
Yeah.
Point of clarification on that public comment, there are administrative positions that would be involved in the swing space, not just one administrative position.
I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand the reference.
Okay. Is there any other in-person?
Again, that's Lauren Hall from Durham. I thank you all for extending the time to consider this regardless of the outcome. Clearly, it's no secret that I'm not a fan of the decision, but I appreciate that you at least gave a listen to the fact that we asked this to have some deeper thought. I just plead that going forward, whether it's the superintendent search, it's the specific plans as we're going through curriculum, if we sooner than later start to involve the community more, because we clearly know people have very passionate responses about these things, they're emotionally invested, and please just include the students, the staff, and the parents as much as possible, because these are some major changes. And I believe it's Mr. Manone. I know you did say kids are resilient, and I agree with you. And you did say it's on the parents. And although I respect that, I do, when you're looking at this grade particular, I'm a mom of a next year 5th grader. And when you look at what we've had to respond specifically to them as a grade level, being resilient, I feel like we really have done that quite a bit between COVID. They moved them out of Brewster earlier to close Lyman. Fun fact, we're putting them back at Lyman, other kids, and we're adding 100 more because we needed to close Lyman because we couldn't handle the kids. So it does make us a little fired up. So we responded to COVID. We moved them out of Brewster early to Memorial so we could close Lyman. Then we moved our kids from Brewster early, again, my other younger one, to Lyman so we could close Lyman to work on Memorial while they're at Memorial. And now we're closing Memorial, and I'm having one go to Lyman longer that we were supposed to close. That's why she moved at the beginning. And then my teeny patini tiny 9-year-old is going to Strong sooner. I do support what you're saying, and I don't think we're being whiny. We really are looking at that age group, and it's not to fight you or to not parent, but we really want to be part of the solution and not look like we're being noisy. But I think at this point we have to be noisy. And I don't mean this to sound snotty or snide or anything, but for example, when Maura spoke up with the difference of opinion, and I get that it ruffled feathers because this is something passionate to all of you, look at how it turned so quickly to her. And I don't think that it's personal for everyone, right? So if we could just do a better job, all of us, of working together, our district will not survive. We want to bring it back to how it used to be. So please hear us. Yes, we are emotional. We do want to work with all of you. but we don't want to just roll over and let this keep happening because our kids are missing out. And we see it outside of school. We see it in their emotions. We see it in their social skills. We see it in the fact that they're so stressed. So please, please, please work with us and hear us that we want to support you, but we also want to feel supported and heard. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Any more in person? Do we have any online public comment? If you could raise your hand. Mike, I think I allowed you to speak if you can.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I have two comments. First,
Sorry, Mike.
I want to,
Sorry, last name. Sorry, last name and town.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Mike Heiligman, Middlefield, Connecticut. I have two comments tonight. The first one is about the other week, that early release on that rainy, windy day. I have never seen anything like that in my life. Calling school a half a day for rain and wind. When you have two working parents, canceling or letting school out early is a big deal for two working parents in a house. And to call it at 7:30 in the morning, I think it was, where like I'm shuttling my kids out the door and had no expectation. You know, it's 50 degrees outside, no ice, no rain. For the thought of, oh, we might lose power. Are you kidding me? It's unacceptable. Unacceptable. So that's the comment on that. My second comment is I appreciate the board member that spoke up against this vote tonight. I thought that was very brave of her. I agree with her. All us parents that were fighting the reconfiguration last year, this is exactly what we knew was going to happen. That whole decision we knew was uncalled for at the time because we knew this was coming. And I agree, second grade probably should go back to Brewster and have third, fourth, and fifth. I can speak from personal experience. We all have probably horror stories from middle school. Middle school in general is just tough with bullying and kids. I was part of an overcrowded fifth grade, and my fifth grade was moved to the middle school with sixth, seventh, and eighth. And I can tell you from personal experience, I had my nose shattered by an eighth grader at the bus stop. Parents should watch out. That's where all the problems were. We're on the bus and we're at bus stops. And out of fear of being a new kid in school, I begged my parents not to sue the school and sue the kid that shattered my nose at the bus stop. I begged. It ruined my middle school career. I was bullied all the way through because of that incident. So I just let parents know, watch out for your kids at the bus stop with eighth graders. They're big kids. So I can say I never had an issue in school because there's teachers and faculty around. So I have kind of less concern with the kids being in the school. But just from personal experience, being a fifth grader with an eighth grader at a bus stop, and if no parents are around, things happen, and especially on the buses. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Amanda Gigante. You could try to unmute.
Hi, unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, fabulous. I was just trying to type out what I say because I always forget when I'm get nervous. But okay, first things first, I want to say thank you to Maura. I know it takes a lot of courage to speak your mind, especially when there's, you know, a group of people that have different opinions than you. So thank you. It means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to the parents that feel the same way. The one other thing I just want to bring to your attention, Maura brought up the point of the fifth graders. She doesn't like, or the idea of fifth graders being in their wing alone. And I agree. It is what it is. Fifth graders are going to be in the wing, but I'm also thinking about the current fifth graders that are going to be sixth graders next year. They're not going to be in a wing. They're going to be in a group with seventh and eighth graders. They're in a class by themselves, one teacher this year. Next year, they're going to be switching classes and they're going to be thrown to the wolves because they've never done it before. And now they are going to be with the seventh and eighth graders. So it's not, yes, thank you, Maura, for bringing up my daughter who will be a fifth grader next year and be having to go through this way prematurely. But also those current fifth graders that are going to be sixth graders next year, it is heartbreaking to think of what they are going to be exposed to when they should be in the current wing that the fifth graders are going to be in. It's not fair to them either. And I don't even have a kid going into that grade, but I'm thinking about them because that's what we should be doing, thinking about the whole child, the whole town, the whole grade, everything and everyone, and not just let's get this building built. And thank you.
Courtney Costa.
Hi, Courtney Costa from Durham. Again, no surprise that this is not how I would have liked to see this go, as the majority of us have spoken up. But I think to go back to what I spoke to last time is that the board and administrators and everybody else now need to recognize the idea that you're adding 100 kids to a struggling school, and now they have less resources than they had before. And so now you did your staff surveys who spoke up and said that the majority of them are leaving because they felt kids weren't getting the services they deserved. You have parents saying the same thing, and you added 100 kids to a school who are now going to continue not getting those services. So the community and your staff members are speaking in very high numbers now, letting you know the problems. So if you want to fix test scores, if you want to fix your community, if you want to fix your staffing issues, hear what people are saying. And I'm interested to see how those problems are fixed, because that is the biggest concern of all of this. In all honesty, I don't care what wing my son is in. I don't care what time he starts school. I care that he is getting the services he deserves. And as I messaged my son's counselor last week when she reached out to me about my comments, I have every intention of putting all the time and energy necessary to make sure that happens, because the son I have coming in needs a heck of a lot more services than I think Strong is ready to provide for him. So like I said, I hope you guys are ready to handle this incoming 100 students and are gathering your resources and making some really solid plans, because the community now heard that your staff is saying the same thing as your parents.
Yeah. Anyone else for online public comment? Any others? Okay. Thank you all. I know it's a lot of pouring rain, so it's going to go concert. So it's like happy holidays. I'm sure I'll talk to some of you in between, but everyone's going to say that. I'll take a motion again. So moved.
Second.
Second by Bob, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.